It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Very good of you to join us in studio today. Denny Folk with Yavapai County Emergency Management. He's the coordinator. He's with us once again. Welcome back, Denny.
Thanks, Paul, for the invite. Always
good to see you. September is National Preparedness Month.
Yeah.
And I know we're at the end of September, but it doesn't matter if it's just the month of September.
We should always be prepared.
Right, at the back of our head, it should always be there. And we've talked to you about this before this year.
Yes,
I think you've actually been a couple of times in this year, and we've talked about being prepared for emergencies. And we have our fair share.
We do, sometimes more than our fair share.
Right, exactly. But before we do that, what is National Preparedness Month? What's the goal here?
The goal is to get people thinking about preparedness and what they can do to add resiliency to their family, to their home, to their life, and the community. National Preparedness Month provides an opportunity for folks to talk about preparedness and different ways to be prepared.
Are we prepared?
I believe so.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think, when you take a look at it, we have things in place to be able to respond to any hazard that might come our way. I think that we have a lot of training that goes on across the Yavapai County area. We have a lot of joint and regional training with our partners in Coconino, and we provide services across the board for folks for preparedness and for response and mitigation. There's a lot of things that go on, a lot of things that people don't know about.
Right. What does emergency preparedness mean to you? What is preparedness to you? What should it mean to us as well?
Preparedness for me, on a family level, I look at it on different levels.
Okay, well, let's talk about the family one first, and we'll hit.
Well, that's actually, I think, the most important, because the family's the core unit. I think if we have families that are prepared, our communities are prepared, and if our communities are prepared, our county's prepared. So when I take a look at it, I look at basically there's three things that every family should do. Every family should make a go bag that has all of the essential things that they're going to be able to need, or that they will need, for over 96 hours. And if they have that, they're ahead of the game, because most folks don't have that. The next thing they need to do is make a plan. In case of an emergency, we're going to meet here. In case of an emergency, we're going here. Here's our emergency cash that's set away in the house that we can grab if we need to go somewhere. If the power's out for an extended period of time, we're going to Aunt Jan's house in Albuquerque. Here's the money to get to Albuquerque.
Okay.
They need to be taking a look at the 5 Ps. As a part of their plan, their pets, take care of their pets, their papers. Papers are insurance documents, identification documents, birth certificates, social security cards, bank account information, all of that stuff. Keep that together in a binder, something you can throw in a bag real quick, and off you go. The next thing that they need to do is pictures. I can replace a house, but I can't replace that picture of my son.
You hear that
when
one
he
a
was
lot
2.
too. You hear that one a lot through the pictures. People miss a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
After a tragedy, people say, "Oh, I wish I would have got this."
Right.
Because that memory cannot be ever made again, nor can that picture ever be taken again. So I would take some of my most select pictures, put them in an album, and throw it in my bag.
I think nowadays you probably get copies of them and have copies.
Put it on a thumb drive.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got those pictures at all times.
So from that standpoint, we take a look at the 5 Ps, and then prescriptions is always important, because in an emergency, your doctor may not be available to write a new script for you, so you need to take your scripts with you. At our shelters, whenever we set up a shelter for evacuations, we always prepare for our pets. We put up an animal shelter co-located with our people shelter. And so we need to make sure that we take our pets.
Any pet medications as well.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And the scripts can always be filled at the shelters as well.
I know the Red Cross offers that, don't they? They're really great about that.
They do, and then of course the county health department works as a part of emergency services for emergency response. They work in the EOC, and they can coordinate any specific needs that may pop up. So it's a pretty comprehensive approach towards things. But from a personal perspective, making that plan is one of the most critical things. You're thinking out all the rubs. And you're thinking about where things are, what has to be done, where we're meeting, where the kids meeting us, how we're going to contact one another. One of the greatest things that was very evident to me as I worked some tornadoes in the Mid-South. And, you know, everybody counts on their cell phone. Well, things that were taken out with cell phone towers.
Oh, wow.
So no communications. So what do you do when there's no communications?
What do you do? What happened then?
Well, you have to have a prearranged place that you're going to meet, and a prearranged place that you're going to meet up with your family, and are you going to come by and pick them up? Those things have to be worked out in your plan. And then from there, where do you go? And then that's all very, very important. And you don't have to go to a shelter. You can go to a family member. A lot of people opt to do that. I'd much rather sleep in Aunt Jan's bed than to sleep in a shelter cot. So,
right.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, you hear about that. The Red Cross, you know, they set up the shelters, and you get a handful of people that stay there.
About
but for the most part, a lot of folks.
About 10%.
Yeah, they got friends and family. They got someplace else they can go.
Right.
That's being prepared.
That is being prepared.
I would say, right?
Hey, Aunt Jan, if something bad up here happens and we have to leave home, can I come down and stay with you?
Yeah, well, I know when the slide fire hit, we were worried about that in Mountain Air, and my brother called and said, hey, if you need a place to stay, you can stay right here.
Absolutely.
So there's our plan.
Yep.
Yeah, and we had all our papers in a firebox.
And
so
I think the last part of that three-step process would be informed. You need to be informed of the hazards that can befall your community. You know, we do live in a hazardous environment. Much of Yavapai County is susceptible to wildfire. A lot of Yavapai County is susceptible to flooding. We have 4 major fault zones across Yavapai County. We can have earthquakes. Landslides are also a major thing. So we do live in a hazardous environment. You should be informed as to the types of hazards that can be in your area.
We've had all these things happen too since you've been the coordinator, have we not?
We have. Every one of those hazards have happened since I've been here.
Every single one, even including the earthquake.
Yes, sir, we did, over in Chino. Then we take a look at that, and so you need to know your environment, be aware, but one of the most important key players in an emergency is you, Paul.
Oh, me?
Yes, sir, you. And people that do your job. The folks need to be listening to the media, because if we have information that is relevant to the local citizenry, I'm reaching out to Paul, and I'm going to say, Paul, could you get this out to the folks and tell them X, Y, Z? Make sure that they understand and they know that this is what's happening and this is where we're going with this.
We have our plan in place, do we not?
We do. We have the emergency alert system as well. And so if need be, we can activate that. And so there's a lot of different things at play here, but you are a major player in notification of the population in the River Valley, and man, we appreciate the work you guys do.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take our first break already.
Yes,
okay. A couple of places you might want to go look for more information, regionalinfo-alert.org or facebook.com/YCOEM. I'll give those back. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll be right back with more Countywide in just a moment.
In the 1950s and early 1960s, the United States government conducted nuclear testing in the Nevada desert. The wind carried contamination throughout parts of Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. People living in the affected areas during that time are known as downwinders. 20 forms of cancer have been linked to downwinders, and free cancer screenings are available to qualified individuals. Over $1.8 billion has been paid out in compensation by the U.S. government. Please check the Downwinders websites for more information.
My new mom and I have a lot in common.
The great outside.
We both love the outdoors.
So shiny.
That's not a flower. We both love geology.
Oh, look. An igneous one.
That's not a rock. And she knows a lot about wildlife.
A labradoodle.
That's not a dog. Hanging out has been kind of fun.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future.
My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom. It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Countywide. Denny Folk with Yavapai Emergency Management in studio today. He's their coordinator. We want to recap the three things you want to make sure you have.
Yes, sir. Make sure that you make a kit, make a plan.
96-hour kit.
Yeah, you know, enough clothes, your prescriptions, all of those things.
Right.
And then the next thing you want to do is be informed, and you do that by staying tuned to this station and others, and making sure that you get the information you need.
Right. Okay. Last time you were in, we were talking CERT programs, Community Emergency Response Teams. And in that first segment there, you mentioned that it's all about a family. Get your plan together. Then you've got your neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
And then you got your community.
Yes, sir.
Your city or town, and then the county. So you got your links in your chain right there. What's the goal of having CERT teams?
CERT provides folks at the community level, at the neighborhood level, which are trained in first response. Now, when we take a look at this, it's very basic things. It's like how to turn off power to a house, or how to turn off the gas to a house. It teaches them some basic first aid and things that you may need, that if your neighbor needs to be evacuated from their house, they know how to go about that program and go about that process. And so CERT adds an extra layer of preparedness to a community. It equips people with the necessity to be able to take care of their neighborhoods. So
now, are these linked up with Neighborhood Watch at all?
You know, it's on the similar premise.
Okay.
It's a 20-hour class. We teach it regularly here in Yavapai County. I mean, we just got done with a CERT class over at the Regional Training Academy over there in Prescott Valley. They're looking at establishing CERT teams across the county, the Verde Valley. We'd like to teach some more classes over here as well, activate the CERT teams. So that way, if you're running into shallow flooding or localized flooding in your community this winter, when we have a little higher than normal rainfall, then you got some folks in the neighborhood that can help people.
When is a CERT team activated, and by who?
We have a CERT coordinator. His name's Eric Lash.
Eric's been in here.
Yeah, Eric's been in here, and his job is to be in the Emergency Operations Center with me. If we have a community that's being affected by a hazard, I'll ask Eric to contact the CERT folks there. And the CERT folks will do what it takes for their little neighborhood, make contact with law enforcement, make contact with the fire departments, and let them know that they're there. And then once they're there, I mean, it might be something like filling sandbags. And that's been a big one, especially here of late. We were worried about that hurricane coming up here and parking over Central Arizona, and we were really worried about it. We moved sandbags, we moved sand into position across the entire Yavapai County, and our next step would be to reach out to folks to help fill these bags, to help people that are in the low-lying areas, and that's the type of stuff that we use CERT for.
Now CERT also, if there's a huge tragedy going on, say earthquake, and emergency services is taxed to the limit. Our police, our fire, our ambulances, they're already super busy. CERT, is it CERT that usually kind of comes in and gets kind of established? They don't really have a law enforcement authority, but they do help in that regards until emergency help can arrive.
Right.
Do they have first aid training as well?
They do have first aid training. And one of the things that we look at, Paul, is that there are a lot of tasks that have to be done in emergency response that you don't want to have a highly trained, skilled technician doing. Okay, CERT can provide tasks that labor to tasks that have to be done that you don't need to have you don't have to have a fully trained police officer, fireman there doing those tasks. So CERT can do a lot of those types of tasks. It might be something as simple as manning a roadblock. It might be filling sandbags. It might be whatever. You know, that doing a basic cursory search in their neighborhood for folks, reporting back the findings so that way rescue can come in. We don't want them to act beyond their scope of training. We want them to work within the scope of their training, and that's a very important concept to insert.
Okay.
So we don't typically activate. We notify. They are volunteers. If they'd like to come and help, we say, hey, if you want to come and help, this is what we're looking at.
Okay.
So, but we do not per se activate them and tell them, okay, now you're working for us.
Is it an ongoing training thing? Like, let's say I'm a CERT team leader and I've got, I don't know, maybe, what's our largest CERT team in Yavapai County?
Well, we have a hodgepodge across the entire county. I would say Walker CERT was actually pretty large and organized. Yeah, okay. Walker Community Action Alliance has a very large CERT team up there, and it's pretty active. We do a variety of training throughout the year. We'll host first aid training. We'll host maybe some advanced training for you know, whatever, preparedness or you name it. One of the key things we do is we like to bring our CERT members in on exercises. Exercise them with our responders, and so that way they can get some practice and get to be used in that function as well.
Well, that makes sense. You hear about our police and fire agencies doing that too. They're always training.
Yes, sir.
Always training.
Always, and that's part of that preparedness.
Right.
And so we're all the time. We host, I would say on the average, 15, 20 different types of classes throughout the year. Everything from incident command to operations to hazardous material technicians courses. We sponsor, Yavapai County Emergency Management sponsors a variety of classes throughout the year. And we open that up to all of our county responders. And so everybody can come to those classes. And then after we find everybody in Yavapai County that wants to take the class, we open it up to our neighboring counties, and then we open it up to the rest of the state.
Gotcha, gotcha. You know, with preparedness, it eliminates the other P, panic.
Yes.
You know, I've had law enforcement and I think you even talked about it before in the past too, where if you're prepared, you know, I was on Fire Marshal Gary Johnson that was talking about this. He says, when you're prepared, when something does happen, it eliminates that panic stage.
It does.
Yeah.
You already know what you're going to do. Fear doesn't have to grip you. Fear doesn't set in. You know what you're going to do. You just follow your plan and execute it.
What's the plan if something really huge happened? And I always go with nuclear. I always go with Palo Verde power plant. If something were to happen down there and we saw this huge immigration of people from southern Arizona flowing up to the north, how much could we handle of that, and how would we handle something like that if it was happening?
The state of Arizona and the Arizona Department of Transportation actually have mass evacuation plans for the metropolitan area of Phoenix. And those plans would be executed, and basically what those plans do is they distribute population out into population centers, LA, Las Vegas, Albuquerque, and across the nation. A lot of folks are going to be transitory. And so we take in a huge amount of people every weekend in the summer. If you ever drive I-17 on a Friday afternoon coming into Prescott, I mean, it's bumper to bumper coming up the mountain. It's bumper to bumper coming in on 169 or on 69. It's just a solid stream of cars. So it's not like we don't have the ability to absorb some population.
That's a good point.
I imagine on Labor Day weekend when it's 105 down in the valley, and it's 85 up here in Prescott.
Half of Phoenix is already up here anyway.
Oh, half of Phoenix is already here anyway.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We have to take another break. Before we take the break, though, regionalinfo-alert.org is a really good website to go to. Facebook.com/YCOEM is also a good place. Denny Folk with the Yavapai County Emergency Management in studio today. I'm Paul David, County-wide, back in just a couple minutes.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
In the 1950s and early 1960s, the United States government conducted nuclear testing in the Nevada desert. The wind carried contamination throughout parts of Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. People living in the affected areas during that time are known as downwinders. 20 forms of cancer have been linked to downwinders, and free cancer screenings are available to qualified individuals. Over $1.8 billion has been paid out in compensation by the U.S. government. Please check the downwinders' websites for more information.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left in the program. Denny Folk, do you think the public is prepared and is taking the fact that we do have disasters in Yavapai County seriously?
I think there's a lot of folks that take it very serious. I mean, I'm constantly asked about how to be prepared. I've got folks that are into prepping ask me how to be prepared. And so we talk about it quite frequently. And I think there's more and more people that are more aware about the necessity and the need to be prepared than there were a few years ago, because we've had a lot of things happen in Yavapai County.
It's almost like a see it to believe it type thing.
And
I've seen it now, I believe it, and I should be ready.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
I think that's how it's been working out lately. It's unfortunate that you got to, you know, put that out there and say, but see, look at how this happened, and this is what could happen, you know, in your neck of the woods as well. So, now we have another thing coming up next month in October, the Great American Shakeout. And I remember years ago you mentioned earthquakes. I think Nick Angelillo did as well, and I thought, earthquakes, we don't get earthquakes. But we do. So
we do.
Great American Shakeout is coming up next month.
We're fortunate. Our earthquake risk is actually rather moderate because of the type of faults that we have. We have what's called a normal fault. It basically just slips like this, up and down.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to a slip strike fault, which does this. Okay, which San Andreas is a slip strike.
Oh, really?
But we're a normal fault. And that's evident by the uplifting of the Coconino and Kaibab Plateau right outside our door.
Gotcha, okay.
And so, yes, we do have earthquakes, and the Great American Shakeout was designed by the USGS, or the United States Geological Survey, and you can go to usgs.gov and sign up for the Great American Shakeout. What it does is it teaches earthquake preparedness. What do we have to do to respond to an earthquake? If we were to have one right now, where would you and I go? Well, I'm under the table.
That's a good table, too, by the way.
That's a strong table.
It's a quality table.
If I'm close to a doorway going outside, I'm going out to an open area away from a building where things can fall on me. And so it just reminds us as to what we need to do to be able to respond to an earthquake and how we would do it. And it saves lives. I mean, you remember back in the 50s and the 60s when they would have the nuclear blast drills in school and everybody would crawl up underneath their desk. Well, earthquake drills are also practiced across much of the country where earthquakes are prevalent, and they do the same thing for those types of things. So these types of activities do save lives. It is a part of preparedness, and it's how we respond.
Be prepared and less panic,
right? Be prepared,
right?
Yes.
Denny Folk, thank you so much for coming in again.
Thank you for the invite, Paul.
That is Yavapai County Emergency Management Coordinator Denny Folk. Websites again, regionalinfo-alert.org, facebook.com/YCOEM, or usgs.gov. That's a whole lot to take in. I'm Paul David. That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.